Hello, how is everyone doing today? I'm Fiadh. I'm an energy and spirit worker and healing arts practitioner. And what I had originally planned was a distance spirit medicine energy healing session to do a media detox. However, as soon as I started connecting to the spirit world and connecting to my own guides and what wanted to come through, instead it was more generalized of a energy cleanse, a settling in, a detox of overconsumption in general, of this feeling of like you have to take more and more and more in. So this has to do with media, of course, looking at the news, social media, doom scrolling. However, that kind of, I don't want to say addiction, pattern shows up for you. Maybe it's, watching TikTok and you just, that short-term content, or it's watching way too many YouTube videos. I say this ironically as I create a YouTube video, but when it's out of balance. And maybe this could also be physical consumption, feeling the need to buy more things to reach more external validation, to consume more products because you think it'll fill something. And this might not be a conscious action. It's just kind of something we are programmed and wired to do now. This is just the way we grow up. We live in a very consumption-oriented culture with short attention spans, with seeking reward, seeking validation, but not ever really quite being able to fill that cup up because our brains are wired differently than they used to be. Most of us just have these patterns of not being able to focus, of needing to consume more, of just constantly trying to bring things in, versus that balance of being okay with stillness, being okay with a little bit of boredom, with your own life force, with your own state of being. I don't think I need to explain it anymore. This is just what was coming through. So it's a bit of a recalibration, a detox, a return back almost to neutrality to help ease the patterns you might be engaging in of overconsumption. So with that being said, let's take a moment, find some stillness. When I channel spirit medicine, that's what I like to call it, I'm connecting to the healing energy of my plant allies, my animal allies, the spiritual allies of this world, and of the higher world, of the spirit world. Higher, I use that as a turn of phrase. Of the other world, of guardians that are very loving and benevolent towards anyone who is watching this, as well as bringing in space and creating space for your own guides and allies to come through. As well as the inherent spirit force energy of, some people call it the upper world, the spirit world, whatever you prefer. gonna step away for a moment, create some space, work more on the outer layers of your energy field to help protect your boundaries, to let yourself get comfortable. Seeing gnomes, like garden gnomes. Okay, there we go. Feeling into the crown, or anything might be, or any overconsumption is having your own judgment, your own inner knowing. When the mind is always busy, when we're always taking more and more in, whether it's information, news, stuff that we think we need in order to fill something inside of ourselves. This is not to say that we can never buy anything or enjoy physical objects, it's more the balance of it. There's so much stuff we don't need. This is a big theme in terms of like spirituality. I think a lot about this in terms of physical stuff, where things like manifestation and witchcraft and magic and spirituality in all forms have been commodified in order to gain more stuff, like this notion of if you buy all of this stuff, if you consume all of this content, then you'll manifest more money. You'll manifest these external things that you need, that you are empty without. And it's so widespread in our culture, and it's so widespread in how we relate to the world and how we relate to our own spirituality and with each other. I don't mean to preach. This isn't to not up here standing on my soapbox being like, if you buy things, you're bad. If you want comfort and safety, you're bad. This is more so we are taught that we're not comfortable and safe unless we have reached these external thresholds, and you just need to take one more class, buy one more thing, purchase 10 more crystals that are being overmined, and then you'll get there. But you'll never get there, because that's what consumption culture does. It always moves the goalpost. It never leaves us content or satisfied or safe or connected. about finding that balance, that inner knowing, that inner sense of safety, of comfort, which will never, we're people, we're not going to feel that way 24/7 all the time. Feeling constantly safe is a privilege. Feeling like you always have enough is a privilege. But there's that difference between feeling like you never have enough. I'm seeing a blue dragon. I'm connecting deeper. Sorry about that. I had to grab some water. I got a really violent tickle in my throat. I'm using the word violent on purpose because I got really angry about it. I feel like there was a message. So we'll focus on the throat. Sking, the guardian, the blue dragon. Since you're here, hi, welcome. I ask for any fire, any healing you may have for anyone receiving this healing in the collective. I recently did a healing video on the notion of temperance. I don't think it has been released yet for my non-members. However, the temperance card is coming up again. Maybe there's a message here about overconsumption of certain substances. Oh boy. That one was difficult to get out. Being unable to quiet your mind. Using substances to dull or cope. So you're just sending healing and love to that, because that's never an easy place to be. Clearing any blockages that make you feel less than whole, any kinds of insecurity, that we've ingrained within ourselves that leaves us feeling like we need to take more in order to solve it. Any kind of comparison. Going into the heart. So I'm hearing regret. So on the opposite end of the spectrum, feeling any kind of shame or guilt we have about buying things. You're still worthy of pleasure. You're still worthy of the physical, of being in your body, of, engaging in your hobbies, engaging in pleasurable pursuits, or taking classes, or whatever it is. It doesn't make you a bad person or less spiritual for enjoying things. It's more the balance of it all and the healing of the emptiness and the constant need for more. Also recognizing when we don't need more, when we have enough, when we can start aligning our consumption with our internal world, So using your money, using your spending, using your time consuming things that are more aligned with your beliefs, with your values, with your core truths. That makes sense. I'm feeling that in the ears. Feeling in the head, a band, almost like similar to the feeling of a tension headache. So you might be experiencing a tension headache. I know I have chronically, because I've been hunching my shoulders. Just soothing into that space in your mind, in your mind's eye, in your occipital lobe, in your eyes, and behind the eyes and the nerve. Just bringing in soothing energy into that space. A little story while we're on the subject. I try to put things into context and not judge people harshly unless they're, causing actual real harm. I try not to be super preachy, even though I preach to myself all the time as well. None of us are perfect, and the world is complex. However, I'm getting to a point. I used to work at a herbal medicine kind of apothecary, kind of spiritual shop. They sold tarot, they sold herbs, they sold crystals, all of the things. And there were good parts to working there. And there was a lot going on behind the scenes that, for many reasons and for privacy reasons, I'm not going to talk about. However, one of the things that, in terms of the herbal medicine aspect and the crystal aspect to a certain extent, that really felt so uncomfortable for me working there. And I didn't own the shop, It was essentially a retail job. It's not like I held a lot of power or sway there. And I only worked there shortly. But it was the herbal medicine as a commodity and the commercializing and selling often things that were priced either far higher than reasonably they should be, but also the way it very rarely allowed for people who were coming in purchasing herbs to actually learn about the plants. It was very much the buy. Oh, you have this health issue, just buy all the things, versus developing a relationship with your own body, with the world around you, with these medicines, to better get to the root, to better understand yourself. And people would come in looking for endangered plants, which obviously we're not going to be selling endangered plants, which I had ethical reasons why. And then, higher ups were kind of like, it's not cost effective. And I was like, and also endangered. And sometimes people just wouldn't care about that. They're like, so? You could just go and dig it up, which is kind of ridiculous. Someone did once tell us to go out of the city and go onto some sort of land and dig up this herb for them. Anyone who's worked in customer service of any sort knows how ridiculous this was. But it was like, that's not how you heal. You don't heal by digging up endangered plants or over consuming plants until they're endangered, or digging up the roots, which doesn't allow the plants to regrow. That doesn't fix anything for you. That just creates more problems, and then you might get like temporary relief, but in the long term, from a spirit medicine perspective, do you think the plant is going to help you over the long term if you're not offering anything in return and you're just buying more things to buy? That was my little rant about, like, my little story, my rant on working in a place where, and just like selling things that I was like, maybe we shouldn't be just selling these things. Maybe, where are we sourcing it from? Is it ethical? Do we know the full context of this? And that's what happens when you work in a commercial space, of course. It all depends on the business owner, I will say. But in this particular case, and in a lot of cases, people are overall in it for money, or they just don't care. And I just don't think that helps strengthen us as people or us in our spiritual practice to be treating the world in that way. Connecting to the heart space right now, just offering some soothing energy. Just releasing any last bits of anything sticky that you might be holding on to. Lightening your aura and strengthening and shielding, giving you a safe place to land within yourself, regardless of the external. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I hope this session served you well. It was a bit chatty. There were some stories to share. But I'm sending you all my best wishes. Please enjoy the rest of your night or day, and I will see you next time.